Yugioh again, and I'm finally back with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier analysis video. And it's been nearly 4 months. Yeah, I think it's been 4 months since I've last done this. So I think that's the longest hiatus when it comes to this series on my channel. on my channel. Also, yes, I am sick. With what, I have no idea. But let's get started. First up, we have Inzektors. And Inzektors are a Zexal archetype that revolves around bugs that like to equip themselves. So let's get started. For the pros, they have good monsters, they have great spells, especially their newest spell that they got from that, I forgot what the name of that contest was. Still a shame we didn't get new Sylvans we did get a new Sylvan, I'm high. Anyways, it's a shame that we didn't get new. I guess I wanted more Sylvan cards as well as more Hazy Flame cards. By the way, Konami, when are we getting our Hazy Flame support? But before I go off on a tangent, let's continue. This deck also has great insect support that it can make really great use of, in the form of insect imitation, as well as that one quick play spell that was, I don't know, it came out with the new Insect Queen monster. That card is also pretty good. This deck can swarm fairly well, especially now that you have 3 Dragonfly as well as that new spell card, which basically allows you to get to your Dragonfly a lot faster and easier. So you don't have to worry about trying to do some Armageddon Knight plays just so you could set up your Inzektor plays, or just hope and pray that you get that Inzektor Dragonfly. And this deck is very consistent, and is also fairly versatile in the sense that this deck allows you to pop, it allows you to recycle cards in the form of Pico Falinka, as well as allow you to beat over certain problem monsters. I say it's fairly versatile and not completely versatile because there are some things that this deck can't really do. But at the same time, this deck also has a habit of going into the extra deck, meaning that you have access to a lot of different rank 5s and potentially rank 3s. For the cons, this deck lacks non-destruction / targeting removal. Because, back in the day, Inzektors were pretty nutty because you could just constantly pop your opponent's field and there wasn't really much they could do about it. But nowadays, in today's Yu-Gi-Oh!, being able to target and pop things isn't as great, especially considering that the pop isn't a quick effect, and on top of that, a lot of cards like to float nowadays, so that's not amazing. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. This deck cannot set up any disruption, so going first is practically a non-option. You'd much rather go second, pop your opponent's field, and give them a hard time. And lastly, this deck generally cannot play through multiple disruptions, but that is usually most decks. For power, I'd give this deck a 3 out of 5. For defense, a 1.5 out of 5. For recovery, a 3 out of 5. Versatility, a 2.5 out of 5. And for consistency, a 4 out of 5. And with all of that, I'd give this deck a tier 3. Next, we have Appliancer. And Appliancer are, I was going to say an Arc 5 deck, but it's a Brains deck. Also, I can't believe we're on the 8th generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it feels like Arc 5 ended not too long ago. Anyways, let's get started. Also, wait, I'm missing something. This deck, what it likes to do is it likes to get out your small Appliancer monsters and then basically link off into your Appliancer link monsters, which are generally made up of link 1s and 1 link 2. and they all get effects depending on whether or not they're co-linked or mutual or just simply linked to said link 2. Anyways, let's get started. For the pros, this deck has great monsters, Sock Control. I mean, it's a staple. You have to run it at 3. Then you have that copy monster, which basically allows you to essentially copy trolls, so that way you could still, swarm using copy troll's effect, because I think it copies its name or effect as well. So that's pretty nice. And the bunkle one, I forgot its full name, but it basically allows you to protect one of your Appliancers from battle, which is pretty nice in itself. And due to its stats, it's basically another machine dupe target. Also, by the way, all the Appliancer monsters are dupe targets. And this deck can OTK. This deck also has decent protection, like I mentioned, in the form of the Bunkle, as well as, I think there was like other cards, but I forgot which one. I know they have like quite a number of spells, but I forgot which one has a protection of. Oh yeah, the field spell, right. The field spell also has a battle protection effect. And one of the link monsters also has a battle protection effect. But they also have decent protection in the form of Laundry Dragon, given its effects. This deck has decent recovery in the form of Sock Control as well as the field spell, because if I recall, the field spell could also net you an Appliancer from the graveyard. Pretty freaking nice. And for the cons, you only have one terraforming. And that is bad because this deck practically lives off of the field spell. The field spell does a lot for you, and not having it actually is a detriment to you. So you'd kind of want to have this field spell as much as possible, and only one terraforming kind of hurts this deck. I honestly wish terraforming came back to 2 at least. I can understand why 3 is a no-go, but come on, Konami. Bring terraforming to 2. I know a lot of people think that card is going to be too busted at 2, but I feel like it would be fine. Next, they lack main deck monsters. They only have 3 main deck monsters, which makes it very hard to consistently draw them and consistently pull off your plays. Because if you only open up one Sock Control, you can't really combo, unless you open up Sock Control and your field spell. And that's assuming that neither of those things get stopped. and if your opponent stops that, then you wouldn't really be able to do much. And on top of that, this deck also requires you to put in a lot of resources for you to actually build. I was gonna say build decent boards, but I forgot to mention another con for this deck is they can't really build disruption. Anyways, I hope I edited that part out. Anyways, this deck cannot form disruptions, so that kind of blows in the sense that this deck, you need a lot of resources just to OTK. I guess you could argue that disruptions can come in the form of like the generic trap, since there's going to be a lot of space in the deck. So who knows? Like that might be a non-existent issue. But the problem with this deck is because they lack a bunch of monsters, you need to actually. Okay, I guess for me to get this point across, I have to better explain what Appliancers do or what their win condition is. Basically, what you want is to have your Link 2 monster on the field and two Link 1s. But with the Sock Control combo, the best you might be able to get is like the Link 2 and a single Link 1. Which is why normally when people do Appliancer deck builds, or that one dude did that a meme Appliancer build, you tend to run a bunch of traps so you can make up for the lack of monsters and disruption. Next, the Link monsters require only Appliancers. I'm not really a fan of mixing archetypes, as most of you could already tell. But at the same time, it's like I feel like that works against this deck, because it requires only Appliancers for all of your Link monsters, you can't really. It makes summoning them a lot harder to do in this deck, especially given your limited amount of main deck monsters. Also, this deck cannot play through multiple disruptions because your opponent stopping one of your combo pieces can actually just, throw a wrench in your plan. For power, to give this deck a 3 out of 5, although it can OTK under the right circumstances and also beat over fairly big monsters, I don't know. There are other decks that can basically OTK and beat over large monsters way better than this deck can. I would say its power is decent. Defense, I give it a 3 out of 5. Recovery, a 3 out of 5. Versatility, a 3 out of 5. And for consistency, a 2.5 out of 5. Not because they don't have any ways to search, because they do have ways to search, like the field spell. The problem is, you only have one terraforming, and you don't have that many monsters in the deck to make up for only having a single searcher in this archetype, which kind of blows. So overall, I'd say that this deck is a tier 3 deck, despite its many flaws. I feel like if this deck were to receive support in the future, it could easily do very well. Next and lastly, PrankKids. And I don't think I need to explain what PrankKids are and what they do. So let's get right into the pros. For the pros, they have good boss monsters. They can swarm, they can OTK, and they can chain block. They could also set up multiple disruptions as well as the fact that they are fairly consistent and can recycle cards. For the cons, they lost Meow Mew. Really sucks, but I could understand why they had to ban that card. And they lost 2 terraforming because PrankKid Place. Because the problem with PrankKids is if you don't open up a fusion spell or any way of actually link summoning or fusion summoning with a PrankKid monster, you're kind of screwed because you need to use them as link or fusion material just to even get them all rolling. Also, instant fusions at 1, so that also sucks for them. And they can't play through multiple disruptions because if they stop one of your PrankKid effects, then it also goes downhill from there as well. PrankKids, in the state they are now, they're worse than when they initially came out. Even though Call by the Grave is at 1. And Call by the Grave did a real number on this deck back when it first came out. So for power, I give it a 3 out of 5. I really hate this cold. I'm not sure if it's cold or not. For defense, a 2.5 out of 5. Recovery, a 3 out of 5. Versatility, a 3 out of 5. And for consistency, a 3 out of 5. So overall, I'd say that this deck is a tier 3 deck. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about Inzektors, Appliancers, and PrankKids in the comment section below. And it's been me, your boy Blagetziga, and I really hate this sickness.